listeners, I say I take too long to talk about people's background. So I'm going to get a little bit about you, and then we're going to quick commercial break, and then we come to talk about your craft that you are on to speak about. So, where were you born and raised? You don't have to tell me your age.
Yeah, I was born in Nevisian.
Great. And as a Nevisian, how was growing up in Nevis for you? Was it a good time, a bad time, in a sense, mostly of your younger years, and then we'll jump quick to present time?
Well, my younger years, for me, it was very interesting in terms of, like how we used to go about doing things and kind of like things that we used to do. I'm not seeing those kind of things anymore.
Oh,
Like we
okay.
used to make cups, we used to make our own clay, things that we play with, play doh,
Mm-hmm.
we take things from nature and make
Mm-hmm.
our pet toys. I'm not seeing those kind of things anymore. So
Yeah, most of these children in the computer all the time, so they don't.
everything is computerized,
Yeah,
Americanized.
I agree with you. When I was younger, we used to climb a lot of canop tree and mango tree
Yeah,
and
man.
and them kind of. See, you look like a picker. You could look at people and say, okay, you're a picker or a catcher. Because when you're picking canop or mostly canop, tamon, you need a catcher because you can't just drop it on the ground. Because if you drop
But
it, they're going.
I just tell the boss.
Okay.
It's
No,
not,
I just say because normally thin people is the one you have to send in the tree. You don't want to send a big person in the tree and break the branches. So that's why I said look at it. See,
yeah,
Aldi might have been one that you don't send in the tree. But you look like one that you would send in the
I'm a
tree.
picker. I'm a picker.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Just watching you,
No,
you look like.
they used to call me the last man. I used to go way, way, way up, right up.
Uh-huh.
The smallest of them I used to go on.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
because you're right. You can't send a big man on a kid. Like I say, you can't reach to the edge.
No, no, no.
You can break
Actually,
the.
actually, we used to play catch, like we call it catch police and stealers. But what I used to do, I used to climb like coconut trees. And if another guy comes up trying to catch me, we will come down. I will come down on a coconut bough, like slide down on the bough and
Uh-huh.
come down, come back to the
Like,
ground.
like the fireman them when they're going on the pole.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Those. So it was fun. It was fun going up, and
I I didn't have the appetite. I wish I had learned how to climb coconut tree. That's one thing I regret in my life
no
because
tree was so tall for me, man.
look, because we have so much coconut tree in various properties that we clean around here in St. Thomas, and coconut going expensive. Them thing is
Of
like
course,
$6 a nut. So that
$5. That's when we're selling it by the pound.
yeah, you know how much money you could make with what, $5 $6 a nut, and then
Of
tree
course,
a whole close to 10 20 nuts. No man, you make up for the day.
man. Serious money.
So as a young person, when did you switch from then you went with schooling? But I'm trying to figure out when you started your craft in stone.
No, I started in 1992 when I
Mm-hmm.
discovered the talent that I had. But I used to do like woodwork. We used to play with the dirt, like we call it make little man. In kindergarten, we used to use the Play-Doh, but I'm not seeing that now anymore. I mean, as I said, we're high flown now. We're going to all sort of different gadgets.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
We used to use the Play-Doh and make little figurines and stuff like that. Help to develop your cognitive muscles and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
don't
so
know.
so you used to do that when you were younger. You used to play with the Play-Doh and stuff, and wood in
And
order to kill time. Like, cause you find wood all the time when you're young. You find you could use a old piece of wood on the side and find another piece, and then somehow you're building something. Something you're building for what is
we used to get,
a dog
we
house
used to
or
get,
something.
we used to get like the sandbox tree, the sandbox wheels. We used to make carts, like sandbox carts, and we would
Mm.
stone the sandbox, get digital, and
Yeah.
we make wheels like tires,
Mm-hmm.
and then we make a cart, and we're pushing it now.
And you're
We're
going
going
down
to
the
the
hill.
top.
See,
We're going down the road.
I live on a steep hill. I couldn't do something like that. I put that card. We better make sure to have no nail in it because it'll rip up. Oh, don't talk about rip my clothes with a nail, or my mother would kill me.
But when I was like maybe 12, 13, I made a cart, actual cart, and we had a hill in the area that I'm living.
Uh-huh.
And we call it a scooter. I would make it, I make it and then you jump on it and we have a steering wheel in front made from like a piece of board. So back and forth.
Mm.
Like a bicycle, something like a
Yeah.
bicycle, but you're sitting on it and
Correct.
your 2 feet,
We,
like,
we, we
with
tried to do
weight.
that. We tried to do that one time, and my mother found out, and she's like, "You're not riding no." Even if she bought us a big wheel, because back then that's when big wheel was style. You're stylish if you had big wheel, and even the big wheel that we had, we couldn't go down. No. You see, like I said, the hill I on is a steep hill, so you ain't gonna, no brakes, you ain't gonna walk. Your shoes gonna have to hold. You ain't gonna have no much shoes after you start holding brakes after a while.
But we used to say no brakes, no bell.
Now that I look back at life now because I have a daughter, and I understand why my mother was so protective. Because my heart races sometimes when I see my daughter on a bike, much less some of the crazy stuff we used to do when we were children. So I look back at life and I say the stress that I put my mother through, it's incredible.
But we're not having those kind of. It used to be fun. I mean, you go down the road and you fall down, and you come home, you're gonna get licks. But it was fun. That's how we grew up and puff and like out there. And we didn't know a word named obesity in those days. Now everybody is well, not everybody, but that word obese is being used primarily. I mean, it's a password now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see children in Canada, like 6 years, and they're already overweight. I mean, they're bigger than me and you. They're walking backwards. As I told my friend, you're walking back, simply meaning like walking backwards instead of to the back of you, your behind would be bigger than your front.
Yeah.
But I was seeing people with their front bigger than their behind. So I said to my friend, these people walking backwards.
You mentioned Canada. When did you visit Canada? You had to leave Nevis. So when did you leave Nevis to visit Canada?
That was in 2001, in July of 2001.
Okay. And it was just a family visit, or did you go there for other reasons?
No, it was for a trade show, an international trade show that I was invited to, by some friends that I met in 2001 at the Nesbitt plantation when it was up and running.
Okay.
I met them there and they invited me. They saw my work and they bought up, I think it was 3 pieces, and then they asked me if I would be willing to come to Canada to take part in the trade show, and I told them, sure, yeah.
It must have been expensive pieces for you to.
But I mean, that was a big thing for me.
Okay.
Thinking about going to Canada.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me do this. Let me take my break early, and then when we come back, we jump in straight into what's your craft and how you got involved in it. Okay?
Sure. Yes.
Take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in about a minute and a half.
USVI and want to advertise your product? Well, you've come to the right place. On FM 90.9 and FM 92.3, you can advertise your business or your event. All you have to do is call Tanya of 407-719-2635. Call Tanya if you live in the BVI or the USVI and want to advertise your product or your business and you want to reach more listeners. Call Tanya at 407-719-2635.
Attention all private homeowners and contractors. East Caribbean Metals, located on the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have affordable pricing on all roofing material, PVC pipes, steel, and much more. Call East Caribbean Metals, 1-784-456-1843. Remember, your U.S. dollar goes further when you purchase your building supplies from East Caribbean Metals. Visit www.ecmil.net for more product information.
Hi, it's me, your genie. I heard your cry. Do you need a transmission or engine, whether new or used? Let me help you get it from start to finish. I can clear customs and deliver to your mechanic as well. No hassle, no fuss. Just call Latanya at 407-719-2635. 407-719-2635.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Marvin Boschulte. And my guest, if you could say your first and last name and the craft that you do.
Marvin Chapman. I work in stone, volcanic stone, or any type of rocks, actually.
Great. So let's talk about what we kind of touched on it in your introduction when you were talking about when you were younger, that you played with Play-Doh and stuff like that. But then you were into woodworking. Explain how you got into woodworking and then how you transferred over to doing rocks.
Well, I attended the junior and secondary school, entered first form, and woodwork was a subject. It was, a compulsory subject that we did. So I did woodwork in my, throughout my 5 years. I mastered the woodwork. But in third form, I was introduced to physics. Physics was probably one of my best subjects. I actually mastered that.
You said physics was one of your best subjects?
Yes.
Wow, that's good. Because that's smart. Because physics wasn't one of my favorite. I could tell you that. But go ahead.
So I did physics and woodwork, and I those were the only two subjects that I passed. I got a grade 2 for them. Upon leaving school, I left school like 89. I went on to work as an electrician, a journeyman. But in 1992, I I discovered the talent of the stone. So I sort of transferred from the wood to the stone. With the capability that I had in terms of the woodwork and the physics combined together, I was able to come up with, doing stonework. But I actually started when I started cutting a friend of mine, cutting his hair.
You were a barber too?
I do my own barbering, cut my own hair and stuff.
You look like a dread. You don't cut hair.
The dreadlocks is inside of my head, So I started cutting this guy here, and I realized, okay. And then I started doing that. But before that, there was a guy who, from my village, he was a stonemason, and he used to take these stones, normal stones, and, he was a barber also, and he used to play around with making, these guys in his village make the head, from the stone with a chipping hammer. This is a chipping hammer.
Okay.
And it's metal, so the stone is much softer than the metal. So he would chip it like, you're cutting blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Chip, a certain amount of pressure to chip away and to break the stone away. So
But that's why earlier when you say you were a woodworker and you switched to your craft, I get a little confused because I could see you as a mason, like how you use a hammer, and then switching over to stone. But hey, you do your thing,
But it was fascinating, to begin with. And then after cutting the guy here, I realized, okay, well, I understand now why the guy who used to do his thing with the stone, I saw where he got the drive to make those heads. It was like a hobby for him. It started out as a hobby for me too, but then I made my first piece. That was in November of 1992. And then I, made a second piece. The second piece looked a lot better than the first piece because of, as I said, of the contour of the head. I was starting to make them exactly like your head, actual head. The bust, they call it a bust.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just continued from there. I started getting criticism, both negative and constructive, and I sift out, this constructive versus the negative. And people started giving me ideas, and I started to develop other things, but going to like secondary school, I actually doing physics. Man, we were learning about different, acceleration, velocity, and different altitude, constant height equals constant velocity, and then the idea of becoming a pilot. I said, man, I would like to be a pilot, man, because it was so fascinating, and probably that's why I passed physics, because it was like fun,
Mm-hmm.
Physics is actually your daily. It's like a daily lifestyle. I mean, even your tires on your vehicle, your shoes that you wear. Talk about traction.
Mm-hmm.
If your tires are too smooth, you can cause it to get into accident very
Correct.
quickly. Your shoe could make you fall. I mean, we started learning about the laws of physics. The balance, even like a weight and scale they used to use back then. The balance thing.
Mm-hmm.
It must be balanced, and then it was so fascinating, man. And I said, wow. But I upon leaving school, my parents didn't really had it like that. But I had the idea of becoming a pilot, but that was sort of, I put it on the back burner.
Mm.
Upon becoming 18, when I reached 18 years, I went to learn to drive, got my license very quickly, and that was it. I worked. I said, okay, if I can't be flying, let me drive. So and then I just continued from there.
Well, and I know you explained earlier about how you went into woodworking. Did you do any type of structures in woodworking other than making the card that we spoke about when we were cheering?
Well,
Did you?
actually,
Uh-huh.
yes. For SBAs, like when I got into fifth form, we were doing SBAs, to send to 60. So we used to work on the lathe. I had to make a table from wood, and you put it on the lathe. You make the spindle the 4 feet, the 4 foot,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and then you assemble it. And then it was like a practical. It was a practical, and then you will mark. You would get marks.
A square one or a wrong?
It was rectangular. It was a
Okay.
rectangular
Okay.
table.
Okay.
And other guys, they would make whatever they choose to make. But
Yeah, I only say square because square is for the domino table. The rectangle is for eating. You could play domino on a rectangular table, but somebody going to have a little eye contact easier than the other one.
Yes, because one is shorter than one.
Yeah.
But even that, doing physics, we actually had one of the SBAs that we had was finding the weight of a meter rule.
Mm.
A ruler that was 1 meter long.
Okay.
We had to find the weight of that ruler, even without weighing it. We had to use measurements. I mean, newtons in the weight. We measured them in newtons. But Newton was the guy who started founded a lot of things he did. Isaac Newton.
Okay. Yeah.
He did a lot of things, and then, but a lot of things being based upon physics. A lot of things that we do in life practically is physics.
Understood. So then you move from the woodwork, and you mentioned earlier about the barber, and you being a barber trigger you into trying this new craft of stone, and you showed me the pick and how you've been how long does it take you to do a normal craft for right now? You're a professional that sells stuff, but what got you into wanting to do this as a job and a career?
Well, actually, that's a very good question. My second piece that I made, I thought you didn't have the first piece that I made to show the audience. But the second piece was looking much better, and it was looking more like a head, a real head. I started marketing. I used to go around like, between white people, like expats with homeowners and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And there was a couple, they were into art also. And then I told them that I'm into this. Just 2 pieces I made so far, but I started making more. And I told them that I was into the sculptures, making stone heads and stuff like that. And they said they're going to come by me and have a look. we set an appointment. They came. I did a little display. When they came, we had like a conversation, and then the wife said she wanted to buy that particular piece. So she asked me how much.
And that's the piece you showed earlier, the turtle.
It was a head. It was a bust. It was a bust, like your head.
Okay. All right.
And I sold it for 170. Well, I told her 175 EC, and she wrote a check for 175 EC.
Wow.
But 175 EC in 1992 was more than my week's pay.
Wow.
That I was making from doing learning to do electrical work.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, wow, this is a lot of money. That's why a piece of stone. So I said, wow, money is in this thing, man. I continued doing it from I got a drive, even more of a drive from that. And then I just continued doing it, repetitiously. That was in 92. In 1994, I was recognized by it was a small business enterprise here in Nevis.
Okay.
They recognized my talent, and there was a lady from Barbados. Her name was Bonita Morgan. I can remember her name very vividly. There was a agency that used to like sponsor people to expand their the talent, the craft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my name came up, and I was afforded the opportunity to travel to Jamaica, free of course.
Wow.
They sponsored everything, I went to Jamaica for 6 weeks in 1994. Actually, I went on Mother's Day. It was a Sunday, and I came back on Father's Day, which was very significant.
Yes.
So I went to Jamaica in 1994 for 6 weeks, and I learned a lot, in terms of, the basic fundamental, the some part of the body, the anatomy. These guys were telling me 6 weeks was not enough. They wanted me to come back to Nevis, get some, another grant or something like that, maybe from the government.
Okay.
To come back to Jamaica for 3 years to go to art school, but that didn't materialize. I came back from Jamaica, and with the little talent that the exposure that I had there, I made a little studio from wood, plywood. And then I started doing my thing. I used to order stuff from Jamaica and sell like calabash bags and these wooden masks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then not only I would sell them, but I would look at them. I would try to critique them and try to make things from stone, replicate them. Things started happening, and then I sort of moved in 98. I sort of moved from the chipping hammer to the angle grinder. Angle grinder is like you cut tiles with, or it's an electrical tool that you use. And I bought one of them, and I started playing around with it. And that's what I've been using for almost 30 years now. So, but that helped a lot. Precision-wise, you don't have as much pressure in terms of hitting the stone.
Yes.
So I would just cut and grind, shave it or sand it. That's why I was able to come up with some of these figurines and sculptures, because it's much easier using the grinder and more state of the art, so to speak.
Now, when you went to Jamaica, how in the various classes, were the individuals from across the Caribbean, or was it mostly just you and the Jamaicans in the class learning how to do the various craft work?
It was just me alone, assigned to different personnels. You know, they assigned me to one guy for like 2 weeks, another guy for a week, another guy for maybe 2 weeks. So I was moving different areas of Jamaica. I went to different parts of Jamaica, Old Harbor.
So it was really a focused learning, because like when you have a group inside, it's not that focused. You have everybody learning, and then you have individuals asking questions. But this was individual.
Just me alone. It was just me alone assigned to each, like different guys, different parts of Jamaica.
Did you feel
it was a one-on-one? It was a one-on-one thing.
And each individual that you went with, was it all stone, or did you have a few woodworkers as well?
Well, there was a stone guy, stone worker. There was a woodworker, and there was a lady that did clay. She was a potter. So I sort of learned from the wood, the clay, and the stone. You know, so the clay is much softer and easier. I mean, it's more pliable. It was fun. It was fun using my fingers.
With clay, even if you make mistakes, you mold it again. When you make a mistake on a stone, you have to find a whole new rock. Unless you make if it's a big stone, then you can make a smaller item.
Yes, you downsize, yes.
Correct, yeah.
But the clay was fun, you know, and it's something that I would still like to get into, like clay, because it teaches you how to, like, you can do like a model first, and then the real thing. But this is something that I would like to teach persons, but I mean, it's it's hard work and nobody's interested. I mean,
you sound like there's a guy that does upholstery here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and he has so much work. He always complains that the young people nobody want to learn to come and sit down in his shop to learn how to do upholstery.
Well, I have 3 sons and a daughter. I would really like maybe all of them to be up to, you know, come on board, and I try to show them certain things, you know, as I speak. You know, I would like them to get involved more, you know, and because a lot of people ask me the question: am I teaching someone? Are you passing the trade on to someone else, one of your children? But that's something that I'm seriously would like to happen. It's a rare art. I mean, it's a rare art, but it has a lot of maybe challenges. But as we said earlier, the young generation now, it's like they don't want you to work hard.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Let me go on my second break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about how you got to Canada. But before I go on break, if you could say your first name, your last name, and the craft that you do.
Marvin Chapman, stone art.
We'll be right back in about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Sure.
That's the sound of your animals. Strong, healthy, and delivering yields you love. That didn't just happen. Began with you feeding them only the best. East Caribbean Feeds. Rest assured, we only produce your feeds with premium ingredients, no hormones, no animal byproducts, just everything your animal needs for maximum nutrition. Because your animals deserve only the best. East Caribbean Feeds for maximum nutrition.
East Caribbean Feeds has arrived in the BVI. Proudly available at Emperor International, Warehouse B, Skelton Bay Lot, Fish Bay, Tortola. Trusted quality, proven nutrition. Give your animals the care they deserve with maximum nutrition. Telephone number 540-2225.
Hello,
My name is Lawrence Boschulte, Vice Chair, Board of Elections, United States Virgin Islands. I'm asking you to register to vote. If you are a registered voter, check to see if you are listed with the active list or inactive list. Call 340-773-1021 for St. Croix and 340-774-3107 for St. Thomas, St. John. To get information on how to register and check in on your status. If you have an issue with the board currently or in the past, call me, Lawrence Boschulte, at 340-771-1735. I suggest you call this station with issues, but I also suggest you register and vote in the upcoming election.
Having a wedding or an event with a group of people and need a shuttle service? Call 340-771-0703 or 407-719-2635.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte, and my guest, if you could say your first name, your last name, and your craft.
Marvin Chapman, volcanic stone.
Great. So let's jump into your stone again and explain, because that was my question. I was going to ask if it's blue bitch stone or regular rock, and how do you choose the volcanic stone?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be born on a volcanic island. I mean, it seems like stone does actually grow. I mean, I just ask myself that question. If stone does grow, but I know they don't really grow, but we have so many stones to my disposal. So this is where I got it. I mean, the raw material is virtually,
very free.
Free. This is to my disposal.
You have to pay for it, unless it's too heavy and you have to pay man to lift it into the truck. Then that's what it costs.
Yes, that's it. Yes, exactly. For service provided. But I'm going to give you a little story.
Okay.
When one of my sons was about 3 years, I took him. We went to a shop to buy something, and upon traveling, he tripped on a stone, and he fell. And we went about 5 feet from that stone, and then I stood up, and then I walked back, pick up the stone, and I said, "Okay, you turn on my son." And I took that same rock, and I was able to I made a bird from it. A bird.
Yeah.
And I had it in my collection. I got a call from a hotel here in Nevis, Wally Beach. Some guests were from the UK. They came down and they wanted to see my work. And upon presenting, making a little display for them to see, and the lady asked me which is my best piece. And then I gave her the story about my child falling the stone, trip over the stone, fell, and that actually brought tears to her eyes.
Yeah. We touched it. I thought you'd keep it.
I didn't expect she to buy that stone. I mean, but when I told her about it, the piece, she bought it.
If I were your son, I'd throw a stone at you. What are you doing? You can't sell a stone at you.
I actually sold it for 100 US. I told her 100 US, and she just took it off the table, and I packaged it for her. And
that's a good story. I agree. That's a good. I thought you would chop it into the bird and make it a put any. If you put any dresser, he might just say, let me start learning how to. Look what my father do. I tripped over this stone and my father made a bird out of it.
As I said, I didn't expect the lady to buy, but a colleague of mine, my manager, my daughter, he said to me one day, when I see stone, I see money. My good friend, but it's something that but you see what happened? It's kind of difficult to find this kind of artworks. Everything is being made in China.
Correct. Yes.
So it's indigenous to the island, to Nevis. When I tell stories, I tell them it's from the volcano, and it's like, wow. It's unbelievable. It's indigenous to the island. It's from the island. It's, as we would say, no MSG,
Well, that's why the tourist bought for the $100. She knew it was made in Nevis, guarantee.
Guaranteed. And I could prove it to her, you know. So
Okay, you mentioned earlier was your first work. You got 175 EC, and it was more than you made like in a week. But then,
correct.
how long did it take you to do the item, and how long does it take now to do the items like the bird and the other ones for you to make a decision how much you're going to charge per each item?
Time wise, and depends on the size, the intricacy of the piece. But with the experience that I have over 3 decades now, I mean, a piece that I would have done, say 15 years ago, I would do it in maybe 1/3 of the time.
Especially with all the tools you have now.
Yeah.
If you only had that pick where you show me, it's going to be a long time. But now you have a machine.
It would have been probably impossible to make certain things that I do now.
Correct.
Because, as I said, the pressure. You know, when you hit it, it probably will break, and the thickness, the thickness of this stone.
It goes back to, and I ain't that great in the Bible terms, so forgive me if I mess up. But they talk about when the builder, the man with the chisel, and everybody only see the one time he hit it and cracked the rock, but they ain't count the 99 times before they took him.
Correct. Yes. But when I was in Jamaica, one of my I call him tutor. He was a sculptor, but he was working in wood. But when I started doing it with hammer and chisel, moving away from the chipping hammer. But the pressure, the pounding was going to be a problem in terms of making certain pieces, the intricacy of it. So I had to come up with a way to alleviate that. If not, some of the work that I'm doing now, I would not have been able to do it without that precision, that, the electrical part of it, the grinder. I mean, you have other things like the pneumatic machine, like, those ear tools. But the grinder has been working for me for over 20 years, 25 years.
When you do some of these work, I'm sure you have to wear protection for your eyes because chipping, it could damage your eye. Not only welding, like woodworking, all of those stiff and tough. Even landscaping, I do landscaping and I wear protection for my eyes as well. How do you find it when you first started when you're younger, you try to skip, because I even see some of my guys when we hire them cutting grass without the eye protection, and I have to stop them because they're like, oh no, it won't. I said that one moment that you think it won't come up will hit your eye. So you put, at least around me, you put the time, because I didn't want to be around when somebody hurt the eye. How was it for you when you first started?
But I used to protect my eyes, but I never used to. When with the chipping hammer back then, it never sort of produced that amount of dust. So the wind would blow the dust away from me.
Okay.
And sometimes I would hold my breath. But then after working with the angle grinder, I used to
consistently, yeah,
cutting walls. I'm also an electrician, so in my early years of working with, learning my trade, I was the one who had to cut the walls. Any wall has to be cut, I have to cut it. In 1994, I ended up one morning having problems breathing. It was very difficult, and I ended up in the hospital, only to find 4 years after it was the dust, the cutting the wall, the fine dust. I wasn't wearing a proper respirator.
Okay.
I was using those little, what do you call them? Those things that we used to use for the COVID.
Yeah, the mask then, yeah.
In 1998, a lady came from New York, and she, a lady by the name of Pam Barry, she told her about me. But I sort of had stopped doing it a little bit because of the health issues, but it was something that I was, within me. But only after I started using the respirator is when I really got back into it, and with the grinder now that I'm using, it creates more dust.
Yes.
So I have to be protective of my lungs, my eyes, and even my ears. I will plug my ears. You have to be protective. You can lose an eye, something get into your other, something. It could be very dangerous. So
Correct.
it has a danger part of it, but it's like it's fun, but you still have to be protective at the same time.
Yes.
Even cutting here, that in itself could maybe the little fine hairs could get into your lungs. You take a deep breath, you're actually pulling in whatever, and it goes into your lungs. It becomes a problem. You get lung cancer. You can get all kind of different illness within. But what I do now on a regular basis, I would use aloe vera.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would blend it up and drink it, and that gives you like a detoxic cleanse, super oxygenate your blood, and it actually cleans your blood, cleans whatever your lungs and your inner being.
Yeah. So I mean, you're used to the bitterness. Cause it ain't easy. It's bitter.
But it's my friend. Others have become my friend. But it's very good. There's so many benefits to the aloe vera. It's and if persons were to use that more, I think we would have a healthier world. But when you talk about aloe, some people their face turn a different color, different.
Yeah.
But the benefits are it's far more than the taste.
Than the bitterness, yes. Totally understand. We talked earlier about how you made a bird out of the one stone. Was it the size was it small, or was it a decent sized stone that you made the bird out of?
It was about 5 inches, in height. The bird was about 5 inches.
But so your son was a youngster when he fell, and he wasn't a big guy.
He was about 3 years also.
Okay. See, now that make a little more sense. I thought it was like a little bigger child to fall over a little 5-inch stone. I was like, what the heck? Because you have to, if it was a 3-inch statue, you have to take away an X amount of percent from the stone in order to understand to get to the. As a stone maker, what's your biggest item that you ever made out of a stone?
It's actually about 9 feet tall. 9 feet. It's huge.
Yeah, a statue of the premier?
I wish. It was an African mask, something like a Buddha.
Wow, 9 feet.
It was for a villa owner in Four Seasons, and it was about 9 feet. In excavator was involved, a crane, a big truck.
I was about to say 9 feet. You know how heavy that thing is? I could guarantee it was more than 175.
Yes, man. But it was. But you see, again, where the large scale pieces came into play, I would say after going to China. I went to China in 2008. I received a call from out of the blues in 2008, asking me if I would be interested to come to China to take part in a sculpture symposium, and I was like,
wow.
I was a little skeptical about it, but then after I Googled the website, I found that it was authentic. And then we started proceeding.
Miss Morgan wasn't in charge of that one.
No.
Okay.
No. There was a guy by the name of Larry. I cannot pronounce the last name. Larry Singh or something like that. But he said he found my number on the internet because he tried. Around that time was the Olympics, and it was Sinkis Nevis. It's like these guys, they're into tourism. It's like it's a tourism product.
Okay.
Like people from all over the world, they come to China to make a piece of the, that represent their country. All expenses have been paid. The guy told me when I got to China, they called the sister island to Nevis, which is St. Kitts, and they said no one does that kind of work. So
Wow.
he was a little confused. I mean, we need somebody from St. Kitts Nevis. But then he found my number on the internet, and he called me personally, and I responded, and I was there for 2 months.
2 months?
In China.
Wow.
All expenses paid, and they gave you some money to like spending money and stuff like that. I mean, it was crazy.
Right. You don't look like you eat much, so you get a little rice, a little bowl of rice.
I actually got a big belly. Not too big, but I came back with. I put on some weight. But I learned a lot there, but just observation and stuff like that. So I realized that I'm internationally recognized now, so I'm going to start to do some like larger pieces. So that's where the larger pieces came in. I used to only do like small miniature pieces, but then
let's talk a little bit about China though. You see the Great Wall too? You were trying to compete with the Great Wall?
That was out of this world, man. I saw the Great Walls. We actually walked for like 2.5 hours, and there was still more to go. But,
wow!
I started cramping up. I was like, man, and I understand. They told us that we can actually see the Great Wall from on top on the moon.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah,
it's about 6,000 kilometers in diameter. I understand. That is like as big as Canada. Canada is like 6,000 kilometers wide in diameter. So it's huge. It's big. Man, we got there in the morning and we got back until the evening, like in the night, like evening. But
and you would know more than me because I always want to see the Great Wall of China. If, when they said bucket list, I think that would be one of mine. But was there stones around the Great Wall of China that you could see that they had individuals like yourself probably back in those days that would chisel and fix the wall the way it is?
Yeah, these guys were master sculptors. I mean, the Great Wall, it's like a lot of architectural building, a lot of it's big. Like domes, like you're walking through like different levels. Like different. You're going through like an aisle, like a walkway. Overhead is like a dome. All the way through.
Okay.
It was a sight to behold, man. It was a sight to behold. I got a lot of pictures, and I actually bought like a few pieces of rocks from the Great Wall. They said it was illegal to do that.
Okay.
But I put them in my pocket.
Sound like my mother. She bring back seeds from Mexico. Illegal again. As an individual who went there for the 2 months, were you teaching as well, or did you go there to just build the sculpture that they wanted for the Olympics?
Yeah, it was just something to make, like building something, and that was a mass, 4 faces, actually 5. 1, 2, 5, 4 east, west, north, and south, and then there was a little one on top. But it was right around. But it was something that I you would have sent a picture of what I had back here, and then you have to do it to a larger scale. So like that was my model. It was like about a foot tall, and then that one I made in China was like 6 feet tall. So it was huge, and that involved like crane and those heavy equipment. So then I said, okay, well, when I go back to Nevis, I'm going to upscale. So then I started making like larger pieces.
So the larger pieces that you made occurred after you saw that you could do it in China.
Correct.
China helped build your confidence in I could do this at home.
Correct. It's just proportion, like, scale, like using scale, like building a house. You have a plan, and then you just work according to the plan, the scale. Then you build it according to the plan.
So you got there, and Larry Singh sat down with you before you got there, or when you got there to explain how big these sculptures he wanted?
No, that was outlined before we got to China. In the correspondence. Those times we used to use Skype. Does Skype still exist?
I don't know. You're right. You're right. That's a long time. But my concern is you didn't have no doubt in yourself that you could do this when he contacted you.
No, I just use measurement like
okay,
10 inches. So I'm going to multiply that by 5, so that we're going to be 50 inches. And that's where the physics and the woodwork came in, balance and the trigonometry and the angles and the geometry and all those sort of things. That's where it came into play. Like, you have to be precise.
You had already designed everything, and you had to send it to the gentleman for him to accept it, for you to get accepted. Did he tell you what he was thinking about, and then you created what he was thinking about before you went with the 5 faces?
No, they asked that they needed something that sort of represent our culture or be a part of our culture. I would have sent like the pelican, which is our national bird, and I think it was a turtle, and I think it was 3 different JPEGs pictures. And they selected that. They said they would like this one in particular, the 5 face. But it was around it was the same time that they had the Olympics in China.
Okay, so you you said you send them the picture of the pelican, the turtle, and then one of the pictures was 5 faces, and they chose the 5 faces over the other stuff.
Yes.
Wow, that's unique. But they wanted something unique. Anybody could do the pelican and the turtle and stuff, but the 5 faces must have been different for them that they wanted that.
And difficult. And they said, a few of those guys there, they said to me that they have never seen anything like that before in China. Imagine that.
I was about to say China, that have a great wall in China, but go ahead, yeah.
Just imagine that, guys, and these guys, they were videographers who was actually videoing us at certain different points. They would come and they would take pictures and try to document. And they marveled. One guy actually said to me, man, I really impressed him because I was just using an angle grinder. Other guys were using all kind of different tools and different things. It was an angle grinder I was using to do all this.
So you did these statues in marble?
It was marble. No, marble. It was granite.
Granite, okay.
I did a smaller piece from marble because there was marble and there was granite. So my piece the piece that I was doing, they had certain sizes already pre-cut.
Okay.
I just chose one of those. And the other guys from all over the world, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Little Rock, Guam, all over the actually there's 42 of us. 42 of us from different parts of the world. And there was a guy from St. Lucia, St. Vincent, I think Dominica. So it was pretty much well represented.
When you went there to do the 5 faces, did you have assistance? Did they provide assistance for you, for people to assist you so that it'd be easier for you to do the sculpture?
Yeah. There was one guy that was my assistant. I also had an interpreter. That was like my passport in China because the language barrier.
Yeah, correct.
She was in charge of making sure of my safety and everything. And it's like I was lost without her in China. Because I mean, I can't speak the language, and so each person was assigned to an interpreter. So it was pretty interesting, you know. I felt, it was a good experience. It was very, and that, the name of the park is Changchung World Sculpture Park.
Okay. Before, because I'm running out of time here, if you could tell individuals how they could find you on the website and the phone number, like what you say, how did the guy find you? Different ways that way. So just in case somebody might say, hey, I want a sculpture done in Europe, you fly over, all paid. Okay, every place you go, everything will be paid for.
Yes, I'm on WhatsApp. My number is 1869 663 5636. So that's 1869 663 5636. A lot of sixes.
I guess you're in a church person, but anyway. as you have your own studio there, or how do you sell to the tourists now? Do you take it to the market, or do they still come to your studio?
Well, they come to my studio, but I go to some of the hotels. I used to go to the hotel before the COVID, but that is no longer. But I built a studio. I have a gallery that it was an abandoned building that I sort of transformed into my gallery. Almost completed. So that is where I'm going to be displaying, and having more that people can come and see. And, like eventually I'm going to have a website, get someone to help me on Facebook. And I want to thank you for having me as a part of your show. So I can get the word out there, and, to all my friends and, potential customers in the USVI, St. John's, Puerto Rico, wherever my voice is being heard, or, I know we have the website, you have, YouTube and
yes,
all those other things,
But I want to thank you before we leave. If you could say your first name, your last name, and the name and the craft that you do.
Marvin Chapman, but they call me Carvin Marvin.
Mr. Chapman, I want to thank you so much for providing the information to me and my listeners about this craft. I know it's a difficult craft, but individuals like you, when we know for sure it's made in Nevis. And although you were in China, so you made something in China, but most of your items are made in Nevis, and I want to thank you for coming on and providing this information.
I thank you very much.
All right.
It was a pleasure, man, talking to you.
Same here as well. That brings us to the end of this show of Caribbean Connections. I will be on tomorrow from 7 to 9, only because I have a guest. I have a guest tomorrow. So thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM.
Cheers. Back to this and early.